The second part of this assignment will deal with what's called inverse trigonometry ratios. And we're just going to call it trig. And we're going to say that when finding an angle measure, using trig ratios, we use inverse of sine, inverse of cosine, and inverse of tangent. And this looks like you would read it sine to the negative first, but you read that inverse of sine. Okay? This right here is read inverse. Oh, I missed a few letters in there. Inverse of sine. This part's real important. We just got done using sine, cosine, tangent ratios because we were finding side lengths. And now the buttons you're going to be using on your calculator are the buttons. It's still sine, cosine, tangent button, but you're going to be pushing the second function first. You're going to be using the ratio that's in green written behind sine, cosine, and tangent, which are your inverse functions. And here's how these inverse functions work. Kind of the same concept that you just dealt with. If you're asked to find the measure of angles A and B, for the given triangles. And we get this triangle. You all right over there? Take that as a yes. My wife does that to me a lot. I'll be choking on food or something just because, you know, you just kind of went down the wrong side or something like that. And I'm still breathing and I haven't passed out. And she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you sure?" I thought it was obvious by the fact that I'm coughing and that I can't really speak real well at this time, and you keep asking me questions. So if I pass out on the floor, I'm not okay. But as long as I'm sitting up and coughing, I'm still alive. I'll be all right. And then she gets upset and she tears up a little bit and she says, "You should be glad someone cares about you." I am, honey. I'm just choking right now. I'm going to be okay. We can discuss it later when the piece of food is not lodged in my throat. Right now, it's just not a good time for me. And then she'll stay mad for like an hour. Yeah. All right, so we're trying to find A and B here. So I'm gonna find A first, and then after we find A, we can just subtract it from 90 degrees, and that'll be B, right? Good. So look what you got. In relation to angle A, you've got a hypotenuse, and you've got an opposite. You still got our acronym, SOHCAHTOA. Now, we're dealing with opposite and hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. But we're finding an angle measure, so we're using inverse of sine. So watch, we write inverse of sine of the 18 over the 27. That's going to equal this angle measure. All right? So let's do this. Let's write. You got enough room in here to write something? If you don't, we can rewrite this. We can say the measure of angle A is equal to the inverse of sine of 18 over 27. That might be a better way to write it. So you take your calculator and you push second sine. Actually, I think you got to do the 18 over 27 first. So do 18 fraction button 27, second sine equals, and you should get 41.81. Everybody get that? That use their calculator? All right, so when you're finding angle measures, they're typically going to ask you to round it to the nearest tenth. So the measure of angle A is equal to 41.8. So now the measure of angle B is going to be equal to 90 minus 41.8. So the measure of angle B equals 90 minus 41.8, which is 48.2. All right, so there's angle B, there's angle A. Pretty simple. Let's look at this. We've got side BC that's equal to 6. We've got side CA that's equal to 20. And we're still finding angles A and B. So I'm going to do it alphabetically. I'm going to find angle A first. In relation to angle A, the 6 is opposite. The 20 is adjacent. And tangent equals opposite over adjacent. That's your TOA. So the measure of angle A is equal to inverse tangent of the opposite side, which is 6, over the adjacent side, which is 20. So 6/20ths in your calculator. Second tan. The measure of angle A is equal to 16.7 degrees. The measure of angle B is going to be equal to 90 minus 16.7. which is 73.3. Everybody understand how that works? All right, so this next example, this last example here, we're going to do what's called complete, or instead of complete, we're going to say solve. If I can get my eraser back. We're going to write solve the triangle. We are going to solve the triangle. And when we solve the triangle, that means that we find all the information we determine or find all the information about the triangle, meaning all angle measures and all side lengths. So here's our triangle, ABC. We got a hypotenuse of 15, and we have a side AC of 3. I'm going to find angle A first. In relation to angle A, we've got the hypotenuse, and we've got the adjacent side. Adjacent and hypotenuse, that is COS, or cosine. So the measure of angle A is equal to inverse cosine of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So 3/15 second cosine, 78.5 degrees. So the measure of angle B is going to be equal to 90 minus 78.5, which is 11.5. So we've got an 11.5 and a 78.5. Only thing we're missing is side BC. At this point, if you wanted to, you could do the Pythagorean theorem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 78.5 angle measure, and I'm going to find this opposite side. And I'm just going to call it side BC. All right? So in this case now, we've got an opposite, we've got a hypotenuse, and we've got an adjacent. You can pick which two sides you want to use. All right? So we're using this 78.5 degree angle. We need to find the opposite side, and I'm going to use the adjacent side. So opposite and adjacent. Tan equals opposite over adjacent. So we're back to regular sine, cosine, tangent ratios. So now we're going to say tan 78.5 equals the opposite side, which I'm going to call it BC, over the adjacent side, which is 3. Going to put tan 78.5 over 1. I'm going to crisscross multiply. 1 times BC is BC. And BC equals tan 78.5 times 3. So BC is going to be equal to 14.75. And that is how you solve a triangle. You find all of the missing information. We found angle A using inverse cosine. Found angle B by subtracting angle A from 90. And then we found side BC by using tangent ratio. And that's what we discussed earlier today in class. Anybody have any questions on using those inverse functions? All right then. Your practice for the second part of this assignment today is going to be the same pages, page 573 and 574. Just some different problem numbers, okay? So you got 12 through 15. And then 36 through 41. Again, e-learners, that page has been uploaded to the resources tab. In class, people, it's at the resources tab. It's also in the book. It's in the back room. Be sure that you check focus for homework. Upon completion. If e-learners don't have any questions, if I don't hear from you here real quick, I'm going to end this Zoom meeting. If you came in late, I will upload these notes to Focus here very shortly. Tomorrow we're going to work on the study guide, so at the beginning of class, we'll go over the answers to this assignment. So there will be a regular Zoom meeting tomorrow and regular Zoom meeting on Friday.